Is Roman Reigns on the verge of making his much-anticipated return to WWE television? It's looking more and more likely, especially considering the subtle yet powerful clues dropped recently by none other than Paul Heyman. If you tuned into Monday Night Raw, you would have caught what felt like a major hint from Heyman while he was standing in the ring alongside Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. Now, quick side note, it's honestly a bit confusing keeping track of all these similarly named superstars. Braun, especially after WWE let go of Braun Strowman, makes you wonder if some name changes are in order just to avoid that overlap. But anyway, back to the point at hand. Heyman's words were deliberate, calculated, and quite revealing if you read between the lines. There was a strategic edge to everything he said, and, to me, it all seemed to point toward the looming return of the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman is known for his masterful mic work, and true to form, he subtly wove in Roman Reigns' presence without explicitly stating it. The first major hint came when Heyman addressed Braun Breaker. In that moment, he referenced the bloodline of badasses and acknowledged Braun's legitimate lineage as a Steiner, which isn't something WWE always highlights. I found it refreshing and meaningful that they leaned into Braun's heritage rather than shying away from it. This acknowledgement not only builds up Braun as a future star but also creates a sense of continuity and legacy in the current WWE landscape. Heyman's acknowledgement of bloodlines, especially in the context of Roman Reigns and the dominant faction he once ruled, felt like more than just praise for Braun. It was a signal, a quiet suggestion that we aren't done seeing family-driven storylines and dominant factions. And this brings us to what I think is an intentional build-up. Heyman planting seeds that are going to blossom into a much bigger narrative involving Reigns, Seth Rollins, and a slew of others over the coming months. Another notable comment from Heyman was when he talked about WrestleMania 45. Specifically, he mentioned that Braun Breaker could very well headline the show. That's a huge endorsement and again hints at WWE's investment in future stars. But it's also a clever way of framing the ongoing power dynamic in WWE. By talking about who could main event WrestleMania, Heyman is essentially challenging the existing power structure, and who's been at the top of that structure more consistently than Roman Reigns? It almost feels like a dare or maybe even a warning to those currently on top that a shift is coming. That all leads into the broader question: when exactly will Roman Reigns return, and under what circumstances? We last saw him take a beatdown alongside CM Punk, and since then, he's been absent from the scene. In storyline terms, that single beatdown has supposedly sidelined him for months, which is a little odd but understandable given his limited appearances in recent years. As a longtime wrestling fan, I truly believe something major is being set in motion. There's a story unraveling slowly, and it feels like it's all going to come to a head at one of the big upcoming events. Money in the Bank is fast approaching, and it could be the first domino to fall. Personally, I think Seth Rollins is going to walk away the winner of the men's Money in the Bank match. The field doesn't feel that strong otherwise, except for someone like Jacob Fatu, who is incredibly talented but still somewhat new to the WWE spotlight. Seth, however, has the momentum, the storyline direction, and the faction behind him to justify a win and eventual cash-in. There's even speculation that the cash-in could happen as soon as the June 9th episode of Raw, which is being hyped up thanks to a huge match between Jey Uso and Gunther. I wouldn't be surprised if Seth takes full advantage of the situation, cashes in, and walks out with the World Heavyweight Championship. If that scenario plays out, you'd have Seth standing tall as champion, only for Roman Reigns to make a dramatic return, maybe not that night, but possibly a week or two later, to confront the man now holding the top title on Raw. That kind of moment would shake things up in a major way. But I don't think Roman should return just yet. WWE might want to let Seth and his growing faction, especially with Paul Heyman backing them, breathe and establish dominance. That kind of build-up makes Roman's eventual return feel that much more meaningful. The last thing you want is to overcrowd a key episode or event with too many moving pieces. WWE has a history of overbooking, especially under Triple H's creative direction, but hopefully, they'll avoid that here. There's something to be said for pacing. Looking ahead, SummerSlam is shaping up to be a pivotal moment. If Seth becomes champion, it opens the door for high-stakes matches with CM Punk, Gunther, Jey Uso, and more. That show, rumored to be a two-night spectacle, could easily feature a main event match with someone like John Cena, possibly against Cody Rhodes, and still leave room for another massive bout featuring Seth and Roman. Even if Roman doesn't wrestle, he could show up in a major way, just like he did last year when he made a surprise return to confront Solo Sikoa. Repeating that type of impactful non-wrestling appearance at SummerSlam could set the stage for an even bigger in-ring return later. After SummerSlam, the WWE's schedule gets even busier. We move quickly into events like Clash in Paris, Crown Jewel, and Survivor Series. Each of these events presents a unique opportunity to slot Roman Reigns back into a dominant role. Clash in Paris, for instance, might be the perfect venue for a six-man tag match: Seth, Bronson, and Braun versus Roman, CM Punk, and Jey Uso. That match would tie together numerous storylines: bloodline dynamics, Punk's animosity with Seth, Jey's history with Roman, and give international fans a blockbuster encounter. Survivor Series is also interesting this year. If WWE returns to its roots and goes with a traditional 4-on-4 elimination tag format, it would allow for Roman, Punk, Jey, and possibly Sami Zayn to square off against Seth's faction, potentially bolstered by new members like Austin Theory. As we march toward the end of the year and get closer to Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season, Roman's role becomes even more crucial. A WrestleMania main event between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship could be the culmination of this entire year's worth of storylines. It's a match filled with history, personal stakes, and legitimacy. While CM Punk is certainly a major player in this landscape and could be a viable opponent for Seth at WrestleMania, there's just something undeniably compelling about Roman versus Seth. They've shared so much WWE history, from the Shield to championship rivalries, and if you really want to elevate the World Heavyweight title, having it defended in a one-on-one bout between two of WWE's biggest stars makes all the sense in the world. In summary, the breadcrumbs that Paul Heyman is leaving each week aren't random. They're carefully crafted messages that suggest the return of Roman Reigns isn't just a possibility, but an inevitability. He might not show up at Money in the Bank or even the Raw afterward, but when he does return, it's going to be at a moment when it matters most, perhaps to challenge for the world title, to align or clash with old allies, or to reclaim his spot atop the WWE hierarchy. Whatever the case, WWE appears to be laying